welcome back to Conner ISD Student Support Services podcast. I wasn't prepared for this. Are we scare you?
You guys are so
We hope to bring you timely and helpful advice and ideas throughout the school year. And we have a special guest with us today, Denise Griffin.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Well, absolutely. You're part of us. It's about time you're here.
So we all just came back from time with family or our chosen family. No matter how you spent your time away from school, you were bound to have experienced a crucial or awkward conversation with someone, young or old. What tough moments can you share about? Denise?
I had a recent one with a family member. She was telling us about these thousands of dollars she was sending to someone and it sounded like a scam. And so I was asking questions like, oh, tell me more. And you could see it obviously made this family member very defensive. And then I just kind of said okay and then let it go because I didn't know what else to say, and I knew I was making it worse by asking all the questions. So it was very, very awkward, very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awkward. Anytime it comes to money and family,
Yes.
that immediately makes for a nasty stew of
Absolutely.
awkward conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully the questions made her, reflect a little bit, even if she didn't want to reflect with you. Maybe
That's what I'm hoping
on
for.
her own.
Put a
Yes.
positive spin on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm thinking there was no resolution.
Maybe one day we'll circle back to it, but
gonna
that
find
was not
out.
the moment.
Okay.
That was not the
What
moment.
about you, Lindsay?
Okay, so mine is actually a professional conversation, and I'm probably turning red even talking about this right now because I was mortified. But I was in a meeting, and I really wasn't appreciating the way the conversation was going, and apparently I showed that on my face. And so then I, received an email after, like, thanks for being there. I'm sorry if I was annoying you. And I felt terrible because I was feeling annoyed with the conversation that was happening, not with the person. But then I had to tell on myself because I'm a rule follower. So I immediately called Denise and I was like, hey, I just got this email. Apparently I was looking annoyed. I believe it. I need to work on it. So I told her that I'm going to fix my face. That's my goal. And she said, that's a great goal. So
Okay.
here I am.
Yeah. Well,
How's it going?
your face looks great today.
Yes.
Thanks.
Great.
You're doing a wonderful job thus far.
Working on it.
Do we need to have a code word for fix your face?
Maybe the people in the production room can
Okay, flash you a sign over there.
I'll just lean back and go like this.
Well, I whenever I think of an awkward moment, I'm thinking of my own kids. There's always so many awkward things when you're dealing with kids who are siblings. That constant crucial conversations. But recently, my daughter, that she's 8 and my son is 10, and so they like to sleep together still, and so I've overheard their conversation lately, and my son, who's older, has become really bossy with her, and every morning, it's very rigid routine in my house, beds have to be made every morning. He has started telling her, Ava, go make my bed. Ava, go make my bed. And it's agitating because it's very bossy, and why is she making his bed? So I brought him in and I, questioned and was like, why is this happening? Turns out, older brother had scammed younger sister into a negotiation, which is not a negotiation. It is unfair. That if she sleeps in his bed, that she has to keep his room clean and she has to do all of the tidying in his room for him.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
No, not fair.
But brilliant.
So it wasn't a tough conversation for me. More so it was me facilitating between them. This is a situation that this is not okay, and you guys need to figure out how to make this right. Like, yes, if she sleeps in your room, you can set up a standard or some boundaries, right? But you can't run all over her. And then Ava, stand up for yourself and say, this is unrealistic. Have you seen my room, brother? It is now a mess because I've been doing yours. And that's not okay. So that's my tough conversation. That and putting pepperoncinis in the roast.
Yes.
I do that, and it's a thing.
And
It's
it's
delicious.
delicious. I
Okay,
agree.
team pepperoncini.
Yes.
No, sorry.
Okay, well, we'll have
We're
to
shutting down this
Shut
conversation
it down.
right now. So, let's figure out how to have productive conversations.
Okay.
When they're crucial, instead of just shutting them down.
Right.
Even though
Okay.
you're wrong about the
I know
pepperoncinis.
exactly why you guys had me come on this. And
Right.
it's because I am so bad at them.
You say you're so bad at them, but you're not. You're a very empathetic listener.
Ab-
You're
yes.
good at finding common ground. And as I'm talking, I'm hearing myself give some of our points. So
are those
good
points?
lead in. So
Thank you.
well, first of all, this episode is called "It's a Hard Knock Life for Us." Because let's get real. Raise your hand if you've ever had an awkward conversation. Of course, look at us. And you listening, I'm sure you're driving in your car and you just raised your hand.
Yep.
Because it's you too. It happens for everybody. We as humans thrive on connections with others, and it's bound to go wrong sometimes. So it's hard. But whenever we are in conflict with others, sometimes we feel like we can't find a way out, and sometimes it feels like, why? How did I get here? Why am I still here? And how do I get out of here? And then sometimes you're the person on the other side of the table who's the pushy one, wanting to continue the conversation, knowing the other person's not in it with you. Both are equally, undesirable.
Yeah.
So whenever we enter into a tough conversation, there's 3 things that we usually do. The Crucial Conversations book says.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what those are? I'll tell you, and you tell me if you've done this.
Yeah.
Okay. Avoid them altogether.
That is
Yes.
not me.
That is absolutely me.
It is?
Yes.
Avoid it. Well,
Not all-
with your story, you started to
Yes.
ask the questions, and then you were like, I'm
Yes.
just going to stop, and then I'm going to go away.
I need to try, and then I need to circle back.
Okay.
But I definitely sometimes try to avoid them.
Avoid it.
Even when I know I have to have it.
You don't avoid it, you
Oh
said?
no. I am the bossy one on the other side of the table.
We are going to talk about this.
We're talking about this right now. And
So
whether you
the
like it or
other
not.
thing we do is we face them poorly.
That's me.
I had a feeling you were gonna relate to that. Do you think
Sometimes.
you don't face it well?
I think sometimes I face things well. I think I'm pretty self-aware.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm
Well, like you said, you have to fix your face first, right?
yes, sometimes when I'm feeling very passionate about something, I can handle things poorly. So
Okay, because you get all heated in the moment, right?
yes.
The other thing we do is we handle them well.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah, working
Work
on
in
it.
progress for
I
sure.
think I definitely have done all 3 of these things. And to be honest, it depends on who it is and, of course, what the topic is
Right.
and how long I've had to think about it. The longer I stew on it and think, I am not the circle backer
Okay.
because I ponder and contemplate and just dig my heels in, and it gets worse. I overanalyze and really find really good reasons why I'm right. The more time I have to think about it.
Well, I have definitely done that too.
Okay.
Because especially I find that with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more, because we will have a fight and then we will not get it resolved. And then I have days to think about it. And then I'm like, I should have said this, I should have said this, I should have said this.
Mm-hmm.
But in my work, I find myself just doing it a little bit differently. Like I have to stop and wait and really plan my conversation, and then I can circle back to it.
It's interesting you say that. I think we definitely have, I do, a work self and a home
Yes.
self.
Yes.
And I think maybe it's how we're invested in those relationships are different. What the relationship is based upon and what it's built on is different.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think like with my home life, when I'm in a situation like this needs to be resolved right now, or I can't function, like I can't move past
I
it.
can't move past it. I don't want to hang on to this.
Yes.
I want it to be better.
But at work, I will get really upset about something and I might handle it poorly, but then the more, or I won't have a conversation about it, and the more I sit on it, I'm like, I don't really care that much about that.
I don't really care that much
like,
about that.
It'll be fine.
Huh.
Like, we'll figure it out.
So whenever you're in a tough conversation, there's 2 things like usually you feel. You either feel like you're trying to keep it open and moving, or you feel like you want to shut it down. Have you ever been in a conversation that it was like, we're done with this. I'm done with this conversation. Have you ever heard those words or said them? I'm done with this conversation. I have. Oh, so many times.
I've heard that
done
because
with
I'm the
this. I'm
person
done
that want to
talking
keep
about
going, but my husband's the total opposite. He'll be like, I just need a minute, and I'm like, well, now I'm even more mad. Now that you said the magic words, now we're done.
I need a minute, but that's
Go
so
for it.
nice. It's so much better than I'm not talking about this anymore or I'm done talking about this.
For me, it's when an insult, like when we start getting personal, or when it starts crossing that line of just complete and total disrespect and disregard for humanness, I'm like, that's it, we're done.
We're done.
Like, this is unproductive.
Yeah.
We'll have to circle back later.
Unproductive. So whenever you find yourself in a moment when you think, okay, this could be that conversation that needs to be had, are there times when, so we said we either avoid them or we face them, whether it's done well or not done well, right? When is it that you step in or lean into the conversation versus avoid it? Like, when is it that you think, okay, I need to do this?
When emotions are high,
Okay.
or if it's something that really matters to me.
So when it matters.
Yeah, when it's important. Work or personal.
Okay. So when it matters and when your emotions are high. And obviously, whenever you and that person have differing opinions on something, that's why you're in the conversation in the first place.
Yep.
Okay. So there are some exercises that you can do to make yourself, work on having better conversations.
I need to absolutely hear these.
So I'm just going to list the exercises. They're pretty self-explanatory, right? I'm not going to tell you how to do them. You can look that up if you need to, but we are going to play a game with one of them. But first, here's the exercises. First, you need to know your conversations.
I know exactly what that means.
Tell me, what do you think that means?
So I'm just getting so personal today.
That's what this is.
I know. I'm thinking about
Like
like
conversation.
it sounds like my husband and I argue all the time, which is really not the case. But when I think about conversations, because you guys are so wonderful all the time, I hardly ever have to have them at work.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
But at home, I will bring up a subject, and we need to resolve this subject, and then he will throw something in. And I will then turn, and now we're on this. Now you just said this, and now my focus is turned to the next thing he said, and then it just snowballs and it's over. So I have to say, nope, I'm not going to address that because this is my purpose. I have to get to this place in the conversation. So no matter what, not insults, but what things come up where it's to deter my
Okay, so it's like your triggers.
attention.
It's
Yes.
like your conversational triggers. Whenever, what is it for you? What are those things for you that you are going to go to every time if they come up? Like, I will not pass.
Yes.
I will not pass go.
Yes.
I will dig deep into this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I don't know that that's the actual exercise.
That it,
from
I
the
think
book,
it, I
but
think
that is
it,
what
well,
that means
it's,
to me.
the exercise would be, in order to know your conversations, you have to self-reflect and think, what are those things? What are my triggers? What are the hills I'm willing to die on?
Right, and what might derail me, and don't get derailed. Just
Right.
know this is the purpose in the conversation, and I have to stick to it no matter if any of those.
You know what's funny about
things
that?
come my
Thinking
way.
about classrooms or just anybody, if you have triggers, you can guarantee the people closest to you or the people who are around you a lot, which we spend a lot of hours with our students, they know your triggers too.
Yes.
So it's like, you need to know what your triggers are so that they don't get your goat.
Yes.
Okay, so the other exercise, or another one, is monitor yourself. So to me, I think that's more of like in the moment, kind of like fix your face.
Yes.
How am I presenting right now? No matter what conversation I'm in, am I keeping the dialogue open, or am I paraverbally shutting it down? The words coming out of my mouth may sound very open to the conversation, but my face looks like I ain't having it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Another one would be finding mutual purpose. That's hard.
Yeah.
Whenever you come in with differing opinions, you have to work to find a mutual purpose in the conversation. Why are we doing this together?
I think most people that enter those difficult conversations, you do want to resolve it and have a good ending in the end,
Right.
where we can still have conversations or be friends, or your student feels safe and supported, and you feel like they understand you as well. So, I think in the end, there is a mutual purpose of
So
the
if-
conversation.
I was listening to you say that, and I'm thinking, a crucial conversation is a conversation where you're, like you said, you're invested in the outcome, and you want the best for both people.
Yes.
An argument, however, is when you just are there to prove your point.
Right. I'm trying to be right.
I'm trying to be right.
Great point.
So it's a crucial conversation is a conversation. It's not an argument. And if you find yourself in an argument, that's when you know you're not finding mutual purpose.
And sometimes it's hard in the classroom too. Like even if it's a 4-year-old, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you have your stories and then you get worked up and your triggers and then next thing you know you're arguing
with a 4-year-old.
with 4-year-old.
Right.
Or they have a need, but you don't have time for their need at that moment. And so you move that along to where sometimes we need to take a step back and say, let's find a mutual purpose. This child has a need. I have to see the human in that and not just get my needs met, which is we got to move this lesson along.
Right. Not just, don't be present selfishly.
Yep.
Be present for everybody involved.
Yep.
So some of the other ones before we play our game are keep it safe. So, I think that's self-explanatory.
Yep.
Make everyone feel included and safe in the matter. And then this one's hard for me, but master your story. So know your story. Know your conversations. Know your triggers, but master your story. So don't get caught up with your self-narrative.
Yep.
The book, Crucial Conversations, says, if you find the story you're telling yourself, the role you play is either the victim, the villain, or helpless, then you are telling yourself a story. And you need to check the facts because life is more dynamic than that. And you are never just one of those things in a situation.
And is it Brene Brown who says to start your conversation with the story I'm telling myself is?
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
I have led into a conversation that way because all night I'll be thinking, they looked at me this way, or they said something, or this happened, and then I make up my own story. And so I've started a crucial conversation by saying, so hey, the story I'm telling myself is that you said this because I did this, and then you felt this way. Can we talk about this? Is that really, is this just a story I'm telling myself, or was that reality? So that is a great sentence stem.
Yeah,
for those
that's a really good one
conversations.
because then that puts it back on you and it's not you made
Exactly.
me feel or you said and that it's this is how I'm interpreting
Yes.
the facts. And I need you to know where I'm at. That's coming to the table with open vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Are we ready to play our game?
Let's play our game. Okay, so the game, ready, Denise?
Yes.
You're playing and you're playing. Denise and Lindsay, not versus each other because that would be an argument. So playing openly to have a conversation that shares mutual purpose. The game is called I'm done with this conversation. The aim of the game is not to say that. The aim of the game is to find mutual purpose, to know your story, to master your story, to keep it safe for the other person, and to keep the dialogue open. To find a resolution in the end, if there is one. Okay? You may bookmark the conversation if you need to circle back.
Okay.
Okay, that's your only out. We might have to bookmark this. Okay, just so you know, that's the code for this isn't going well. We need a new game, a new round. Okay. So Denise, you're going to draw one of these cards from the middle of the pile, and you're going to begin a conversation with Lindsay.
Okay.
Lindsay, talk to me about how you feel about daylight savings time.
Was she supposed to have a stance or I'm supposed to have a stance first?
You're in the game.
Okay.
I'm invisible.
This is a great conversation to be having right now because we just had daylight savings time happen and it has been destroying my life. My children wake up at about 6 a.m., but they don't go to bed any earlier. And it's really hard to have 0 minutes to yourself in a day. And then when I'm come home and it's dark, I just don't want to do anything. I'm done for the day. So
Yeah, I can completely see how that would be hard. Not only because you're having to deal with children getting up and not having that time to yourself, but then the darkness is difficult. I don't know, there is a benefit of daylight savings time though. I can't for the life of me think of what it is because
Are
it
you a
probably
farmer?
happened 100 years ago on the farm, but I'm sure there's pros and cons.
Okay, pause the game. I feel like in this first round, you both are entering the conversation already agreeing on the topic.
yes.
Yeah.
So is this a conversation that would be a crucial conversation you would find yourself in? Remember, the qualifications are emotions are high, stakes are high, or opinions vary. Do either of those apply? Any of those apply to this scenario?
I feel like we're very similar, so I feel like this is going to be pretty hard.
It would be hard to play.
It's going to be hard to play this game because
Yes.
I feel like a lot of
Okay,
things we can agree
so
on.
next round. that was our lead-in. But man, that dialogue was open. Y'all were really going somewhere. Side note, did you know that I don't know this. This is rumor. This is third-party information. I think daylight savings time will be no longer.
Oh gosh, I keep hearing that every year, and
Did
it
you
never
hear that?
happens. Yes, but
Oh, that's been a rumor
I
for
feel
years?
like it
I
has
thought
been.
it was a thing this year for real.
I think it, yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out. If we're stuck in this time zone forever, then we know why.
Don't
Okay.
get my hopes up.
Oh, I'm not supposed to pick. Lindsay, you're supposed to pick.
Okay.
Okay. Remember, the point of the game is to know, is this a crucial conversation?
Okay. So, Denise, I think that the best queso is from Torchy's.
Am I telling the honest truth?
Yes.
I also feel that queso is from
Man, we did not vet these
the guacamole,
It's so
the hot
good.
sauce in the middle,
can't go wrong.
the chunks of the green chilies.
So
glad we
this,
agree, so I don't have to make
this
any
is not a
faces at
tough
you.
conversation
No.
because opinions do
I
not
will
vary.
pick a new
Denise, go
topic.
again.
Why do we have to do this? Lindsay, I do not understand why. I can't think of a good example.
You're a kid. You're a kid in the classroom.
Oh my gosh, why do we have to learn Texas history when I can just Google it? I'm sorry, Texans out there. I know I may have said it on purpose to just spark a little debate, but why do we have to learn it? I can Google it.
Well, have you ever heard the phrase history repeats itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose I have.
Yeah. So, if we don't understand history, we might be going into similar situations that were not good situations to start with. So that's the reason why we learn history in general. But I've been in some 7th grade history classes recently, and the storytelling abilities of some of those teachers, just the feeling behind it. Have you ever been in a classroom where you're like, oh my gosh, I could just listen to you talk forever? And the information, you really soak it up because you're invested.
Okay. So, if I don't want history to repeat itself, I need to actually enter into conversations and listen to stories about history rather than just, it's more than facts and dates.
Plus, if you don't think yourself, you're not really interested in history, are you?
Not so much.
Okay, so if I'm not interested in history, I'm probably not going to be Googling historical events. So, this could be an opportunity for you to get a new interest or find something that you like about history, and try a new topic.
Well, I can definitely see your perspective. And while I don't see myself getting a new hobby of learning more about history,
This is hard, isn't it?
certainly, I'm like, I do see that there is value for sure in knowing, knowing where you live, knowing what happened before you, and getting to hear the stories behind the events.
Yeah. And all the historical sites you can visit, it's more fun when you know why.
That is a good point.
That is a good
That is a
point.
very good point.
Next card. Let's keep it moving. Let's do one more.
Okay.
Okay, pick another one.
Okay. I don't think that homework should be a thing.
Oh, I feel it. She agrees with you.
I do agree
Oh,
with you.
dang it.
Well, although I will say, if homework is a thing in high school, if homework is a thing in college, if homework is the thing, like I do see that kids do have to learn the habit. It just needs to be very, very, very slowly phased in. We can't expect students to learn all day. I mean, when we teach all day. I mean, we teach all day, we're exhausted, I mean, think about how hard it is sometimes to go to that after school training or to then go home and know you have to, read this book or look at this data before coming back to work. Sometimes you just need to unwind. So I think we have to have very realistic expectations when we're looking at kids and their ages and what we're expecting of them. But I do understand needing to have that habit because that is a skill you're going to have to do in life.
I agree with you, and I think the thing that worries me the most about homework sometimes is if a student didn't know how to do the homework in class,
they're
and then they
practicing
go
wrong.
home and then they're practicing it the wrong way, then it's not benefiting them either.
Yes.
So
So in this game, the aim was to keep open dialogue, and I feel like you guys had a few minutes with each topic, even though it worked out that you actually agreed a lot. So I don't know if we really vetted our game cards really well. But the point is to know and to kind of monitor yourself and know your stories. And I feel like you guys did that. You knew this is not really a story that I'm going to find myself in a crucial conversation with, but you did do a good job of seeing the other's perspective, keeping it safe, and keeping the conversation open and moving. So it's time for a quick check.
Hey, email studentsportservices@conroeisd.net. See the human instead of the problem for a prize.
Getting these emails, just every time I open one, my heart just, like the Grinch, it just grows 3 sizes. I'm like, someone is listening and someone sent an email, and your comments are always so sweet.
Yes.
So, and yes, our
enjoy
whole
it.
team reads them. So
Yes.
please,
It's a big
send an email.
celebration.
Absolutely.
So after playing our game and kind of digging into what makes it a hard conversation, why is it such a hard knock life for us, let's transition into the self-monitoring piece and the piece of seeing the person on the other side of the table. So when you're living your daily life, what age do you really feel? Do you feel the age you currently are, or do you feel like a different version of yourself? How do you live?
It depends on the day, and it depends on the topic. The same, like, sometimes I feel my age, which I will not announce on this podcast.
Oh, you're one of those?
But, like, today I woke up and I felt like I was 85 because I must have slept wrong and I could barely move. But, again, sometimes when we're in conversations that I'm very passionate about, I can feel like I'm 12, 13.
Yeah. I think most of the time I walk around feeling like a 20-year-old. And I'm like, hey,
little sassy.
20-year-old Bailey over here. And then I pass a mirror and I'm like, what? Oh, she's 34. That's that lady. I forgot. I am her. I think it's interesting to watch children too, like my own kids at home. They will have moments where they're so very mature. And you're like, wow, you are really leaning into your upcoming 11. Look at you. Look at you. I'm so proud of you. And then in a split second, he's arguing with sister for the last Coke in the refrigerator. And it's getting nasty, And so it's like, and there's your 4-year-old self. It's back. I remember this moment. As a parent, I've seen you do that thing before and you're doing it again. Yeah. So we all are different ages. What age are you most of the time?
Well, when I am with you guys at work, I am 95.
What?
Yes, because you're all very young, and I don't even want to say, I'm going to say the word hip. And so even by saying the word hip,
20-year-old Bailey.
I know. And so I feel very old when I'm around you guys.
Okay.
But
I
when
don't see you as that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I see you as hip. Yeah.
Thank you. That
Hip
just made my
Denise.
day.
Yeah.
Now, when I am around my family, when I'm with my brother, we are back to teenagers.
Isn't that
it's
so cool?
funny? We go right back into our old
And you bring
patterns
it
of
out in
behavior.
each other.
Yes, absolutely.
So pattern of behavior, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so leaning into that, the reason I asked is like what we bring to the table. We have to, like we said, when in our quick check, you have to see the human instead of a problem. And that human comes to the table or comes to the experience or comes to the conversation with their own lived experiences, and we have no idea of how that has impacted them or what their wisdom is with interacting with others or like what their emotional maturity is.
You might have a 4-year-old who has had more experiences than some people in their 20s.
Exactly.
And vice versa. You might have a 20-year-old who's had very limited life experiences, and the way you respond to them would have to be differently.
So, like, I heard a saying, or maybe it was a TikTok or a YouTube video or something someday, but I heard someone, or maybe it was a meme, I'm not sure, but it said, I am 4. I am also 7. I am also 15. And I am 34. So I am all those versions of myself bundled up into one, and our experiences shape our emotional intelligence, but that intelligence and that maturity can ebb and flow, just like you said. It's the energy you bring with, and you match. It's like behavior matching. You're gonna meet that other person where they are, which is a good thing, but you also need to be aware of that other person and their experiences.
So I noticed this happens too. It happened to me as a teacher. Sometimes I was with my 7-year-old child, I found myself acting like a 7-year-old back to that 7-year-old child.
Yeah.
And I had a moment of, you are arguing with a 7-year-old. This child is 7. I was probably 25 at the time. You are 25. And I had that moment of, but being in that moment, there was that behavior matching that and I think that's one of the toughest things about being a teacher is that you have to remind yourself constantly, they are 5, they are 15. Think about yourself as a 15-year-old.
But there's 2 points to that I think I want to make too is, yes, they are 5, but they're still a person, and their feelings, their opinions, their emotions, they are just as valid as ours. Just because they're small doesn't mean that all of that stuff doesn't matter. They're allowed to have a bad day. They are people. And we can't hold 5-year-olds to a higher standards than we hold ourselves, than we hold other adults. But also in that conversation, I think it's important too, my friend, she used to teach 5th grade math, and she's one of those like really strict we are total opposites of each other. She would have been a great person to have in here. But she has a picture of herself when she was in 5th grade to remind herself to tone it down because these kids are 11. Like treat
They are.
Only they're little. That's scary, and
But a person is a person, no matter how small. They're still a person.
They're a person. So treat them like people, and remember that they may not have the skills to handle the situation that we're in. Assume that they don't, and teach them instead of assuming that they're trying to be bad or not do their work. Maybe they don't know how.
Right. So you can't assume too much from others, but you need to just meet them where they are. And maybe it's not that you behavior match and you meet them, it's that you're aware that they're not coming from the same place as you, or they're not entering with the same experiences as you, and that's okay. But that's when, like we practiced earlier, you have to monitor yourself, find a mutual purpose, and keep it safe.
Yes.
Keep it safe. I guess it just is be present. Yeah.
And I think it's important, too, to remember when we're talking about students being people, whether they're 5 or 10 or 15, is that we as an adult make mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes. And when I make a mistake, I would hope that somebody doesn't yell at me. I would hope that somebody would say, yeah, Lindsay, great, work on your face. It sounds like a good goal. Instead of, you need to...
Yeah.
I mean, that conversation could have gone a lot differently, but I think that we need to make our students, let them know that we're humans, and if I did something, I'm going to apologize to you, because whether you might be 5, but I'm a person, you're a person, and I did something wrong, and you deserve that apology, and I need to model that.
Right.
Yes.
I like that. So if we all make mistakes, just eat humble pie.
Humble pie.
And a good way to check yourself would be to ask yourself, if a student talked to you like that, would they be in trouble? Just because they're smaller, like you said, doesn't mean that we don't value their feelings or opinions. We need to identify the feeling before behavior so that we can see them as human and enter into that tough moment or that conversation and handle it well instead of handling it poorly.
And if we want them to apologize for their mistakes, to own their mistakes, to take responsibility, to be responsible humans, they can't get there without those teaching moments, without that modeling from us to be able to see this is how you handle an uncomfortable or crucial conversation.
Right. I think I was listening to you, and I can think of several adults in my personal life who I know don't have the same level of emotional maturity as some other adults I know. And I know that after thinking through this conversation because of the way the conversations always turn out. It doesn't usually end well with particular people.
Yes.
And it's because emotions are high, and the skill set for meeting the person where they are, or taking a step back and trying to keep it safe, like some of these skills, these are good points to kind of keep in mind no matter who you're engaging with and interacting with. But something that we all always need to work on, and it's easy to get caught up. So I feel like we're kind of at the point where we can talk about our takeaways from today. Y'all?
Yeah.
What's your takeaway, Denise?
I love that a person is a person no matter how small. Every interaction we have with everyone should always, I was thinking about something I heard from Jim Knight when I went to one of his trainings, and he talked about that a conversation should give life. Both people should walk away from a conversation feeling like it has benefited both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're having a conversation and it's crucial because of any of
Right.
those reasons, I just need to keep in mind that this has to benefit both of us.
of us.
Everyone has
Mutual
to walk
purpose.
away. Yes.
That's a good point. I think I know I have had conversations where it feels like the life has been sucked out of me. And it's like, oh my gosh, I never want to do that again. But I had to do it. And so that was that. But I think that maybe is an indicator that it didn't go well. Because it didn't go well. It didn't feel well. It didn't feel good. I do think that there's a good recognition to know, just like from that, my takeaway would be is to know when it matters, and that's when you lean into it. And if it matters, then you want it to go well. But be careful not to find yourself in an argument. And the story you tell yourself is that this is a crucial conversation when it isn't. It's just you and your ego trying to win a battle. Then that's not a good exercise for you and the other person. That could jeopardize a relationship.
Yeah. Good. I think my biggest takeaway from today is just knowing the why behind a conversation, and are my actions and my words going to get me to what I ultimately want? Or are they going to send me on a different path where everyone leaves this conversation feeling icky and we don't find a resolution and no one's happy, and just to kind of monitor myself better.
Yeah. It all started with fix your face, and look, your face was excellent throughout this whole conversation.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. So if you haven't listened to our previous episodes, check them out. Next time we will be discussing a student-led classroom, and I'm pretty sure we're planning on having some guest speakers again. I'm very excited about that. They're amazing teachers.
Yes.
Remember, if you have an idea or a question about what you've heard, feel free to ask your Student Support Services coach.
Also, if you have a question but want to remain anonymous, you can always ask Sam. The contact link can be found in our monthly student support newsletter, and all submissions are completely anonymous.
And that's it for today.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you for having me. Cheers! Cheers!
Next time I want a matching cup.
Okay.